This is the 10X Your Business podcast with Itay Paz. Session number 10. Yes, we are at the big 1-0.
Welcome to the 10X Your Business podcast, where it's all about 10X Your Business results. Get more clients, make more money, and have more free time. And now, your host, entrepreneur, best-selling author, trainer, and international speaker, Itay Paz.
Welcome back to the 10X Your Business podcast. I'm very excited about our guest today, Ernesto Verdugo. Hi, Ernesto.
Hi, Itay. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for joining us. And I'm so excited about you being here. And we're going to talk about speaking on stage. And this is a very, very exciting topic for myself.
Yeah, public speaking is a very interesting topic. And I think it's just one of those topics that can definitely 10x your income.
Absolutely. So, let's start a little bit about you, your background. How did you came out to be on stage?
Well, I right now I am in Amsterdam. I am originally Mexican, so a moment ago we were just talking about the accents. So definitely, you have an accent. I have an accent. English is not our first language, but basically the way that I got started was I was responsible for the training department for KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. I was the first non-Dutch person to work in the headquarters of KLM. I mean, previously, of course, KLM had a lot of international employees, but of course they were in their countries of origin. But I was the first non-Dutch to work on the headquarters of Amsterdam, in Amsterdam, and I was responsible for the training of the people. Specifically, they hired me to take care of the people in Latin America. But in the 1990s, when I was doing that, the Latin America's economy was very bad. And then, well, they had me already here. I was hired for 6 months. And then they said, well, what are we going to do with this guy? I was single in those days. And it was just exactly after the first Gulf War when Iraq invaded Kuwait. And then they said, well, let's send him to the Middle East. And then they sent me to the Middle East. And I was based in Dubai for a number of years. And I was basically responsible for every place in the Middle East, from Bangladesh to Cyprus, including Israel. So that was sometimes a little bit inconvenient because I had to go via Egypt. And but anyway, it was a very, very nice experience. And then afterwards, I took Africa, I took Europe, and then I've been doing trainings all over the place. I have been speaking in over 56 different countries to people of over 120 nationalities. So I do have some, I know a thing or two about public speaking.
Definitely.
But that's how I got started. Yeah.
Definitely impressive worldwide, going on stages. And yeah, you touched the point that we talked about earlier was, I have an Israeli accent, you have another accent, and it doesn't really matter. It's all in people's head. And we see that people have lots of fears. Jerry Seinfeld was the first one saying that number one fear of people is public speaking, being on stage.
That is correct.
And second one is death.
Death, yeah. Right? They're more afraid of public speaking than dying.
Exactly. So he was saying, that means that in a funeral, you would rather be in the casket rather than saying the eulogy.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the fears of people on going on the stage. And I'm not saying it's unjustifiable, but let's try to see what are the fears and how can someone handle it,
Yeah, well, I think public speaking is, if you go and suddenly have an audience of 300 people, 400 people, or 100 people, or 50 people, whatever, I think it will be a little bit intimidating. But I think it is a matter of getting used to it. It's just, it's an acquired taste. In my eyes, it's an acquired taste, public speaking. And of course, it's a very nice thing. I mean, the moment that you understand how it is done, and most people are afraid because they don't really trust themselves. They don't really feel very comfortable in their own skin, and that's one of the reasons why people are afraid of doing public speaking. In my eyes, public speaking is one of those things that you require no matter what. I mean, in whatever business you're in, the level of the quality of your life is going to be improved by the quality of your communication, how Tony Robbins says. And I believe very strongly that that's the case. I mean, I started practicing. I mean, I thought it was very interesting. I actually, the first time that I heard about public speaking, I went to a training when I was working there for KLM. I saw the trainer, and I thought it was great, that he was really having a great time with the audience. Previously, I mean, my other experiences in speaking were when I was in school, and I was, in possibly a contest, or you had some whatever it is that you had to be doing public speaking, and that of course that role is very different. But the moment that you say, well, I'm going to provide some good information, I'm going to provide some nice content to people, I'm going to make them laugh, I'm going to encourage them to something, and then you start seeing that people respond nicely to your message, then of course you start getting a taste of it, and that is really very nice. In my eyes, one of the things that is happening right now, for example, in our industry, I mean, because of course I am not only doing public speaking, but I'm also doing a lot of events online, as you are doing. I mean, you do webinars and all these kind of things. People are more comfortable because they're hiding behind the computer, and then of course, I mean, they feel that it isn't the same thing. And then some people could be very good on webinars, but they could be a disaster on stage. And this is something. This is one of the things that I have found out. It is because, of course, I mean, they are not used of actually looking at the you're looking at me, but I mean the other people which are looking at us, we have no clue. I mean, I have no clue who they are. So it is it is just a matter of understanding and basically knowing what's going to happen, and then it's fine. Then you start working, and it starts working fine.
Absolutely. So some people say it's an art. I say, yeah, it could be an art, but it's also a science. It's also a science, because you can actually know, and if you do A, B, C, D, E, F, there's a list of things, then you absolutely can nail being on stage. But I'm going just one step backwards. We're talking about the fears. When I had, if you told someone 7 years ago that I will be speaking on stages in front of hundreds and thousands of people, they would have, thought you need to be committed into some kind of a institute. Nevertheless, I'm here, I'm doing it today. And for me, the way to overcome this issue was I scheduled my own event. There were like 400 people registered and showed up, and I had to just, they were waiting for me. So I had no other choice, just going on stage. So from your eyes, what would be, you say, maybe one tip or a few advices on how to go on stage if you fear of stages, other than practice, of course, which is the basic thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, if you say, well, the more you practice, the better that you would be at. I would say that it is, well, first of all, be a little bit prepared. I think that's the most important thing. Being prepared, I think, is basically essential. Now, in preparation, it takes a little bit of work. There's three kinds of speakers, and I think that's an important thing for us to understand. There's keynote speakers, which is the shorter ones. They are the 100-meter dash runners. They are the ones that run 60 minutes, 45 minutes, half an hour, 90 minutes. Those are the keynote speakers. Those are the ones that you deliver a message. Delivering a keynote speech is relatively easy. Then you have the trainers. The trainers are the marathon runners, the one that go for 4 hours, 6 hours a week, 10 days, 15 days. And then you have the pitchmen. And if we actually put it in that scale, the easiest is the keynote speech, the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker needs to communicate only a 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute, 90-minute presentation. He or she delivers 3 or 4 points, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Even if you're not very good, it's a short period of time, so you can actually just survive. For training, it's a highly skilled thing, because of course you don't only have to deliver a message, but you have to create interaction with the crowd. You have to know how to think on your feet. There's a ton of other stuff. For pitching a product on stage, that's the most difficult part, because that's exactly where the science goes through. So throughout the 3 of them, there's several stages. And obviously, I mean, one of the mistakes that many people do is, well, I have been selling on webinars, so now I'm going to be trying to sell it from stage, and they just don't do it very well. Or they say, well, I'm going to do I want to create my own product, and I'm going to do a 3-4 day training, which of course is incredibly boring, because of course they have no clue how to interact with people. So I think, in my eyes, in order for you to become a really good speaker, first thing what you need to understand is, first of all, you have to master each and every one of those 3 categories. First of all, start doing some keynote speeches. Don't expect to be paid, just practice. In some cases, I even paid to be on stages. So that's one of those things that I think it is very important. So sure, I mean, it depends on, I mean, coming back to your question, is how low are we going to go into the fear thing? Because of course, we can talk about the fear of public speaking, but I think that is we're going to try to jump a little bit people, because of course the people which are listening to your podcast, I think they are people that possibly that they have already passed that stage. I don't know, I mean, you tell me. They might be a little bit afraid. They might be a little bit afraid, but now what they want to do is now they want to know how they can actually take their skills and start making more money with it. So I mean, I think the fear part, it will always be there. Even me right now, I go on stage, and even though I have over 10,000 hours of stage time, I still sometimes get nervous, less and less, but I mean, I still sometimes get nervous, and I'm sure that most speakers still do. I mean, you get those butterflies flying in your stomach, as they normally say, but that's okay. I mean, if you can just channel that fear and work with it, then it's fine. I mean, it's just healthy. Panic is another story. But once again, coming back to that topic, the important thing is to take into consideration that you have 3 different categories. So you have the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker, it's fantastic for your reputation. It's fantastic for your branding. It's fantastic for your because of course, I mean, in a short period of time, you can just impact a number of people. That's of course going to be very powerful, and you can get paid very well, but it takes a little bit of time for you to actually get paid a lot higher fees. I mean, right now, a speaker, for example, if they're going to be hired to do a keynote speech, they will be paid anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000. Right now, for example, if I'm going to be doing a keynote speech, I charge anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. I think the most expensive keynote that I've ever done is about $20,000. But I'll tell you exactly how it works. And I'm talking US dollars. I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. Is this the kind of information do you think that it will be useful to you? How can people get paid by doing public speaking? Do you think that this will be something that might be interesting for your crowd?
Absolutely. I do want you to talk about it. It's very important. So let's dive in and just talk about it. I do want to say one thing. You referred about the fact that you have sometimes butterfly before you go on stage.
Yeah.
I told myself this. First of all, I share with you the same thing as.
Yeah.
I think this is what makes us
human.
Great. Yeah, human and great. Because if you go on stage and it's not exciting for you, then you probably you're at the end of your career on stage because you're wasting your time. It's not exciting you. So I actually like it when you have a little bit butterfly and like, whoo, yeah.
Exactly. Well, just think about in which other activities you also feel butterflies in your stomach just before it happens.
Exactly. And also, just to clear the topic of fear, at the end of the day, the fear, you can break it into pieces. One of the things is take trainer, someone to coach you, someone to help you. And if you break it, like you said, there's the butterfly on stage, just someone say, oh, but I don't know what I'm going to speak. I'm afraid of what the topic. Can I talk? What would I do with my hands? What do I do with my face? How do I handle? What if someone stands on the floor and say, oh, this is boring, or whatever it is? Not that someone does it, but I'm just saying there's lots of aspects. So you need to break your fears and just take a
good idea. It's a good idea to be trained. Very honestly, I mean, practice makes perfect, or actually perfect practice makes perfect, which I would prefer to say that, because there's some speakers that I mean, they practice a lot, but they keep on being very bad because they have never been trained. So my recommendation for everyone is, for example, as I was saying, I mean, if we take it step by step, the first kind of speaking that you're going to be getting involved into, public speaking, it's going to be keynotes. That's going to be the shorter, half an hour, 45 minutes, 90 minutes. That's more or less the average kind of presentation that you're going to be doing. So that the moment that you master keynotes, then you can go into training, and then afterwards you can possibly go into speaking. That's more or less the progression. Possibly sometimes, I mean, you jump from keynotes to selling without doing training, but the moment that you learn how to do training and how to command crowds, you're going to be a lot better. So when you are doing learning how to do keynotes, the best thing that you can do, and right now there's a resource there on the internet which is fabulous. I mean, fabulous place to learn, is just by simply watching TED Talks. That is awesome, because of course there's a formula. There's a very easy formula. You can see all of the TED Talks. I mean, just search for TED Talk trainings, and there's a lot of presentations done on that. How to do a TED Talk. There's even books on how to do a TED Talk. All those books are great books, so that you can actually get an idea of how it all works. During a short presentation like that, it's the time that you're the least afraid, because there's the least interaction that you can actually get. I mean, people are not gonna boo you. I mean, just bear in mind, and for people that still are a little bit afraid of presenting in public, they want you, I mean, people which are listening to you, they want you to be as successful as you think that you could possibly be. They want you to be successful because, of course, they want to learn. So in 99.9% of the cases, they're going to be supporting you. They're not there to boo you. They're not there to make fun of you. They're not there to laugh at you. So whenever you're doing a shorter time presentation, that is the least problematic. Is the easiest part,
and it's very powerful, because instead of talking for an hour, you just say, like what I say, you give your pearls in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or a shorter time. It's, in Hebrew we say the tachlis. I know that some people know what it is. Just to the point. Give me the pearls. Yeah. People want short to the point, and that's all TED. I'm not saying all sessions, like you said, are 15 or 20 minutes. Some of them could be an hour and 90 minutes, but even in 90 minutes, it's not like speaking for training a few days. Yeah. Now, can you take it? You were talking about earlier, and we said let's go dive into the business side. So about the money side, how do you make money off of speaking?
Well, there's a ton of experts. There's a ton of people that I know, especially in the self-development world, and also in the woo-woo world, as many know about it. I mean, all the people which are into Reiki and into that kind of not so tangible learning. They want to make money, and they think that public speaking is going to work out well and everything. Well, there's a science to actually making money with speaking, but the moment that you understand it, it's just absolutely awesome, because you can make money in many different ways. So let's stick to keynotes, because once again, keynotes, you can get very easily paid for a 1 hour. I mean, as I was telling you, my prices vary between 10, 15. The most expensive that I have sold is 20,000, but I'm going to tell you specifically how I have done it, and it's a formula. Now, I'm not telling you that after you listen to me speaking that you're going to be able to do it, because of course, I mean, that is not how it works. I mean,
It's
you
a
need to
process.
work out a number of things, but it's very simple. I mean, first of all, the most important part is getting your first paid speaking gig, and the first paid speaking gig, it could be anywhere from $100 to $500 to $1,000. That would be okay. Now, how are you gonna accelerate the rate in how you're gonna be hired? Because I mean, a lot of people say, well, I have a lot of experience, and I have this, and I have this product, and they keep on talking about how incredible they are, and that they are the greatest thing after sliced bread. And they think that because, of course, they are the greatest thing after sliced bread, that they deserve to be on one stage. You promote events, I promote events. Let me just reverse the question and do it like if I will be interviewing you. How do you actually hire a speaker?
Oh,
I mean,
great question.
most likely, either you know him, you heard from him through somebody, or you search for him on the internet or her on the internet, and you found a proper website and videos that actually sold him or herself to you, right? I mean, that's how I do it.
Absolutely. These are the three things. You don't just say, oh, I met someone on the street and I'll take him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That doesn't happen. So the most important thing is, first of all, you're not going to have word of mouth advertising unless somebody has seen you speak before. So how can you accelerate the process of earning money by speaking? Well, first of all, you have to really work on your media kit. Your media kit is absolutely critical. Now, what is a media kit? And this is how speakers bureaus work. There's a great book that I recommend. I mean, I read it a long time ago. In fact, I had the good fortune of being trained by Dottie and Lily Walters. There's a book called Speak and Grow Rich, which is it's a great book. It's written in the late 1980s, when everything was about speakers bureaus and all these kind of things. So a lot of the things are a little bit obsolete, but if you actually just change the message and you think about how it works on the internet, in the past, if you needed a media kit, you had to create, a file, a folder where you would put
print it out, mailing out.
Mail, and then you have to put a DVD, or you have to put a video, and then you have to send it by FedEx. Right now, you could have everything, absolutely everything. You could have it there on a website. So if you will just go to your website, your name website, that would be perfect. Or for example, something like Book Itay or Book Ernesto or something like that. If your name is taken or you're using it for something else, just have one specific website which is specifically for you. And there you're going to have some pictures which are going to be professional pictures, so that they can use, the promoters can take in their own for their own advertising. That's a very important thing. You need to have 1 or 2 video samples. So that is also something that you need to do. So for example, if you're doing one presentation, do it, or if not, it could, even if it is amateur, they need to see you speaking on stage so that people can actually see you speaking on stage. Then the other thing that you will need to have is you will need to have some interviews, like for example this interview that I'm doing with you, but preferably if you have it on television or on radio or whatever. The moment that you have this kit, which takes you literally anywhere between 6 months to a year, especially if you're already an expert, you have to start looking for these things so that you will achieve something which is absolutely critical, which is the positioning, because payment it's directly linked to positioning. The better that you're positioned, the better that you will be paid. So if you're not well positioned, you're going to be getting $100 or $500, or let's say even $1,000. But then afterwards, the moment that you're properly positioned, what's going to happen is that you're going to start getting better paid for your speaking opportunities. Now, the moment that you start, the moment that you get your first speaking opportunity, let's say at 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, then you're already in this business, and then that's where you can actually take it to the next level. Now, some of the people that listen to me, some of the people that listen to you, are people which are making a lot more than $1,000. So they will not be motivated by this, right? So how can we actually get them motivated? Well, very simple. What they need to understand is that speaking is the best way to actually open new markets, which of course is going to give them a better opportunity to start incrementing their business in new markets, especially internationally. I mean, you live in a relatively small country. I live in a relatively small country. I mean, the Netherlands is this size, is really small, and but my business, it's all over the world. People which are in America, for example, they're comfortable if they say, well, you know, I am dealing with the Americans and the English-speaking people. But what happens is that the market is so competitive that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people competing against each other. And it's very much the case of the red ocean, blue ocean. I mean, the moment that you step outside, then you see that there's a complete new world. And that is just an awesome thing.
Absolutely, you're touching a very important thing. Is about the international thing.
Yeah.
You and I, and this is one of the things. You know, I'm speaking later this year at the Underground seminar in Denver,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I'm going to speak about is about breaking the barriers, thinking differently. You and I are, you know, I'm coming from Israel. It's a relatively small country. And for us, if we're talking about, hey, if you invent something, whatever product it is, or invent or have a product or a service, your limitation, let's say, okay, so you have 500,000 potential clients, 1 million clients, okay, potential clients. But once you break the barriers, whoa, this is not just 20 million or 40 million, you have billions of people all over the world that are potentially your clients. And international is a very, very great strategy for people, and most of the people don't do that, so it's a great strategy to go. I know you do a lot in Dubai.
Yes. Yeah, I've been, you know, I've been focusing mainly in the Middle East and Latin America. I position myself, once again, into positioning. I position myself. I mean, if you look at my name, you're going to see that I position myself as the #1 internet expert in the Middle East. Obviously, I'm talking about the Arabic side. I mean, not because then possibly I will be competing with you if I will also include Israel on the
which, you know, I can't go. We were talking about I can actually go to Dubai and several other countries.
Yeah, that is, you know, I mean, well, that's a political thing, but it's just such a shame, because one of the things that you and I have been talking, and of course I want to make sure that it happens. I want to have the possibility of having Speak in Israel, because the program that I'm doing in Dubai is Speak in Dubai. I'm taking speakers so that they can have their first international stages and whatever. And I want to do the same thing in Israel. So definitely we have to find out a way so that we can actually get it done.
Absolutely. So you were talking about taking speakers. So that's some kind of a shortcut. Is it for speakers, or is it for someone who wants to be a speaker?
Well, it's for experts more than anything. I think a ton of experts are not speakers, and that sounds surprising, but it is exactly how it works. A ton of experts are not really very good at speaking, because of course they're very good at what they do. I mean, recently on our first event that we had in Dubai, we had a number of doctors, for example. I didn't know that doctors were, it's a completely untapped market. I said, wow, I mean, this is just incredible. Doctors are doctors. I mean, they're experts, and they have the latest. I have chiropractors. I have people that were dietitians. I had doctors that were working on your metabolism, all sorts of different things that, of course, they want to communicate their message. But what happens is that they really do not know how to communicate their message. So when I was actually preparing this program of Speak in Dubai, what happens is that suddenly I started realizing that there were a number of doctors and architects and engineers that want to communicate in their field, and they needed this kind of training, and they needed their message to be heard. So basically what we had there was a number of different experts that we were training on how to become international speakers, and how to brand themselves, and how they can achieve the 10x results that you wanted to do through public speaking.
Awesome. So they have the opportunity basically to join you with a group of other experts and potential speakers,
Yeah.
and actually be on stage in front of hundreds of people and have their, a big push towards, hey, I already spoke on an international stage.
That is correct. The idea, we provide them with an international stage, which is themed. So depending on who we're working with and what we're doing, and then they go there and speak. And after they speak, we also work with a photographer. We tell them, for example, how they have to do their when we help them create their demo reel, which is their video that is going to be showing people how they speak. So we tell them how to work with their hands, how to deliver the message, how to create the impact that they need to create. Then they have a television interview. Then they have a radio interview, and then we take pictures of them so that they can get their branding. And we basically, in a week, we get them completely ready so that they can start rolling out and start making money. That's basically what it is. It's a very intense week. And it was great. So it was the first time that we have done it. It was in Dubai. Now, soon we're going to be doing it in Cairo. Hopefully by soon next year also we're going to be talking so that we can also get it done in Israel. It's a great experience. I mean, for people, just bear in mind, I mean, for you, I mean, most of the work that you have to do has to be international because you have to leave Israel. It's the same thing for me. I mean, I am here in Amsterdam, and I mean, within hour and a half, I am in another country. So it's just a very, very small country. So for us, the word international is a completely different story. For somebody from Australia, for somebody from Canada, from somebody from the US, thinking international, it's a complete different thing. Now, what happens in those countries, because I'm sure that you're going to have some people which are from Australia, from the US or from Canada. What happens is that if you have for me to say here that I have done international speaking, if I actually say here in the Netherlands that I have done international speaking, it just doesn't say anything because, of course, international, everybody becomes international. However, if you're American or if you're Australian, if you're Canadian, what happens is that you say, well, I'm going to be international. And I mean, a typical example would be, well, I am an international speaker. I've spoken all over the world. Where did you speak? Well, I spoke in Alberta, from somebody from the States. I mean, Canada is not really an international market. I mean, it becomes international when they go talk in Asia, or when they go talk in Australia, when they go talk in the Middle East, or when they go talk to Israel or in Sweden or whatever. Then it becomes international. And what is very funny is the moment that you have spoken in any other country, and then you go back to the States, and then you say, well, I have presented in this country, and in this country, and in this country, and this country, your worth as a speaker goes a lot higher than if you say, well, I spoke in Alberta, and I spoke in Las Vegas, and I spoke in Edmonton, and I spoke in Des Moines, Iowa. I mean, that doesn't say anything to them, but that's the power of speaking internationally.
Absolutely. You said go beyond borders. That's the thing for us, and it's native for you and I, but it's not native for others, and they definitely should be looking into doing that.
Exactly.
We're talking about the money side of the business, so I want to go back a little bit. You said let's go for the keynote. So the keynote itself usually generates the cash and the money, and as you said, it's also growing as you go over time and you get more experience, more exposure, being in more places, having the right marketing material, supporting material for you speaking. As I see, there's two more aspects which you probably also talk about with your clients, and when you teach that, is if you have some kind of an audience, then if it's relevant, you can actually generate money by selling, just sending emails to your clients and invite them to the event where you speak, and you can get percentage off the tickets, which is another additional income for you. And the other side is eventually you're on the stage, so there are people hearing you. Some of them become your followers, some of them are looking to get your services, your products right after, not even if you don't sell on stage, you still get a residual income from new followers, new audience. Like you said, you get exposure. So these are two more additional income that added to the main one, which is the speaking on stage.
Yeah, let me tell you how I increase my revenue whenever I do speaking. First of all, one of the things that you need to take into consideration is you have to understand where the budgets are coming from. If you understand, I mean, if you have to think, I mean, this sounds so basic, but it is just something that not many people think. First of all, I'm going to give you the clue or the key in order for you to charge large amounts of money while doing speaking. First of all, it is about the value. If you don't have a brand, I mean, if you're not Bill Clinton or if you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever, that you have a name and already a brand, because of course sometimes, I mean, you hire people as a brand, or Richard Branson, for example. That is of course not the case of all of us. So not everybody knows us. And that's another of the things which happen. See, for example, I mean, there's some people which I always get incredibly upset with. I mean, I just think that they're just, and with all due respect, I think they're idiots. People that come and tell me, well, you know, I mean, they might be well known in San Diego because, of course, they have done some presentations in San Diego. And then I tell them, well, you know, why don't you come and speak in Dubai? I'm going to open a new market for you. I'm going to give you these opportunities. And then they tell me, sure, I will go, but please pay my first class ticket and please pay for my hotel accommodation. I mean, just by looking at your face, I know that you have experienced that stupidity, right? And I go to myself, are these people stupid? Because in reality, they are just not understanding what this game is all about. I mean, this game is about exposure. This game is about opening your doors. Unless you, once again, unless you are have already established brand, which is a worldwide brand, then that's another story. But if you're not, I mean, of course, you have to take the opportunity and sometimes pay for your ticket, pay for your accommodation, because whoever you're going to be working with is going to provide you with new opportunities. So suddenly I got myself carried out into something else.
You're touching the right point. You know, I had a past opportunities where I paid, you know, I fly always first class, but I flew like tickets, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and I didn't get no reimbursement, no hotels, and no nothing. But I got many other benefits that, you know, were outstanding.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what happens. And see, for example, what happens is if you understand that you're going to be providing value, then you need to understand. So that the first thing is your presentation. It's going to be how much value am I going to be able to provide. If you do a 1 hour presentation or 2 hour presentation, the amount of value that you can provide is very little. And that's where people don't really get it. So for example, if you're going to be getting hired for an event that is going to be having, let's say, 200, 300 people, possibly the speaker's budget is going to be $3,000 to $4,000. And if you tell them, you know what, I would like $5,000 and I would like my ticket and I would like my hotel and I would like, they will say no and they will look for someone else. You miss the opportunity. So first of all, my recommendation for people that want to become, that are serious and on opening new markets and opening new opportunities is, you know, if they approach you and they say, well, you know, this is our budget, then you know what the speaker's budget is. That's the speaker's budget. But they might have also material budget, so training budget. Well, you know, I also have a book. Would you be interested in also providing a book to all of the people? So, for example, it has happened to me that in one go, people buy 500 of my books. They buy them immediately. So I immediately have already another source of income instantly. So they're paying me $2,000, but they're paying me another $1,500 for the books. And then on top of that says, well, you know, I am traveling 5 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours to go to your country. What about if the next day I do another training session for this person, or this person I mean, I will do it at half of the price that I will normally do it. So then I will possibly do a training for 4 hours or 6 hours, and I'll do another $2,000 or $3,000. So
and they make more money because they sell the day, they get the money, and you get part of it. But they're making more money. It's all about them. It's not about you.
Exactly. So if you think about it, see, the best way to do it is first of all, get the speaking engagement. If they're going to pay you 500 or 1,000, that's their speaking budget. Take it. That's it. Take it. No problem. But then, of course, then you start trying to find out if there are other possibilities of making money around that trip specifically. So if they tell you, well, you know, my price is going to be, my normal price or what I would like to make is $5,000 or $10,000, then what you say is, okay, fine, I'll accept these. However, bear in mind that my normal price is this other budget. So do you have budget also for training materials? 80% of the time they have budgets for the training materials. So they will possibly be buying your books. Would you, what about, I am already there, so it doesn't cost you any more, and possibly I can deliver a half a day workshop or a 1 full day workshop, and I will give it to you at the reduced rate. Would you be interested in this? Good part of the time they are. Okay, now how about if you will present me into, I will take the $1,000, but you will present me with your customers. So you will take me to some of your other events that you're having there, or you will always try to find a way. So the important thing is getting there. So if you get there, they give you the possibility of talking, and you cover your expenses. You're in the other side. You're already on that market. And then, of course, you get and start building other opportunities. So it happens to me very frequently. See, for example, they invite me to speak in Malaysia. So I go there and speak in Malaysia, and then after speaking in Malaysia, possibly they only paid me $2,000, and my normal fee is anywhere between 5 and 10. So what do I say to them? Well, you know, this is normally what my fee is. So I'll be happy to not charge you the 10,000, but this is a negotiation. Please help me also get something else. So would you be willing to work on my training materials? Would you be willing to also provide me another speaking opportunity? Can I do a training like this so that we can get a little bit more money to compensate the money that I am supposed to be making here? And every single time what happens is, for example, if I travel to Malaysia on February, very likely I will be coming back to Malaysia 4 months after, because I'm going to be getting another speaking engagement or another training engagements 4 months after, because of course these guys have opened the market for me. So if you want to really take your business 10x, exactly as you say it, that's the way you want to see it. When I was single, and this is of course single and without kids, you know that things change. You also have kids, and you're also married. The moment that you have kids,
you have a boss now, right?
Sorry?
You have a boss now, which is
exactly. I have a boss,
right? We don't manage. I know it's. Let's be honest.
Exactly. So previously, I was just traveling all over the place. I was just literally speaking all over. I was living out of speaking, and it was just great. But now I have to be a little bit more selective. So it does. It depends on at what stage you are in your life that you're going to be taking the speaking career. But the great thing about speaking is that it's just the best possibility for you to grow your market and to get yourself to your brand known all over the place. Now, also, for example, another of the things that I do is I get, in many cases, whenever they're doing an event, they record the video. I ask them, well, okay, can I have a copy of the video? Sometimes they give it to you for free. If you think about it, sometimes you have to hire a television crew in order for them to record the video. Here you have it, and it's there for free. That also counts as payment, because of course you can use that for promotional materials. You can sell it. You can do all sorts of things. So speaking is a great industry, but you have to be a little bit creative.
Awesome. Ernesto, first of all, you gave great information, and I'm sure if people want to learn more and keep on following you, they can go and search, of course, your name, Ernesto Verdugo. But is there a website that you want to refer them?
Yeah, you can go. They can go to ernestoverdugo.com or speakindubai.com, that. I think those would be the best resources that I can give them right now on that topic.
Great, and I want to thank you really for being here and sharing your information. Thank you.
It's amazing. The time just flew.
Absolutely. And so thank you. And thank you for everyone listening to this podcast, the 10X Your Business podcast. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the 10X Your Business podcast with Itay Paz at www.itaypaz.net/podcast. We will be back with another great podcast next week. If you're digging what you're hearing, your next step is to go to iTunes and in the search box, type 10X Your Business. Click on Itay's picture and go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And if you're feeling generous and you want to help other business owners and entrepreneurs like you to find this podcast, then give us your rating and review. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.